everybody, Jason here of GhostbustersNews.com, and of course Ghostbusters News, as always, right here on YouTube. And today's unboxing, today's review, is going to be a huge one as we take a look at the brand new Ghostbusters box set from Mezco. Yes, finally we're taking a look at this much talked about box set, 1/12 scale action figures. I hear the detail of these guys are just beautiful. Now, quick heads up, the price tag on this set is pretty high, as it comes in at $300 US. So my job today is to unbox this and see if that price tag is actually worth it. I will say though, first impressions regarding this tin box set, I'm loving it. As you can see here, the packaging features the iconic and classic No Ghost logo. Gives me vibes of the old school VHS cover art. The No Ghost logo is also embossed and beveled out on the packaging. Turning the box around to the back, we've got this great shot highlighting each four of the main Ghostbusters, including all their accessories and pack-ins. And if you've been following the channel for a while, you know I'm not one to sit and wait around. That I have no patience, so I'm gonna pop the top. Oh man. So give me a second here, guys. I'm going to remove all the figures out of the packaging here, and we're going to take a look at each individual Ghostbuster. So let's start this review off with the mouthpiece of the Ghostbusters, our look at Dr. Peter Venkman, more importantly, Bill freaking Murray. Can I already say from first impressions, I love these figures. The flight suit is impressive, but let's first focus in on that face. Now to me, there's no doubt that this certainly resembles Bill Murray, but I can't help but think that some things is a little bit off here. Like, it's got the pock marks on the side of the face, the chin, the cheekbone, like it looks like Bill Murray, just something it doesn't add up here. Maybe it's the hair, I feel like it's a little too dark here. Or maybe it's just trying to get Bill Murray's likeness in this scale, once again, 1/12 scale. I mean, if I had to rate the likeness out of 10, I would probably say maybe a 6.5, 7 maybe? Now moving on to the actual flight suit here, I already said I love this thing, and that kind of comes as a surprise to me because originally I wasn't going to buy these figures because of the flight suit. You see, when Mezco first started showing them off here, this is what they look like. To me, they just looked way, way, way too baggy. With the actual figure featuring definitely more of a form-fitted flight suit, and it looks so much better this way. The only thing that kind of bothers me is the zipper, as I do feel like it's a bit large for the figure. But once again, bringing up the scale, 1/12 here, they measure under 7 inches per each individual figure. I don't know if you could actually have a functioning zipper if it was any smaller. And as you can see here, the zipper totally does work. You can zip it up, you can zip it down, revealing the black undershirt underneath for all 4 Ghostbusters. Of course, each individual Ghostbuster does have their own unique name tag on the suit, with Peter here having Venkman on his chest. And we also have very clean printing when it comes to the No Ghost logo on the arm. I especially love the level of detail on the elbow pads, which actually fit very, very tight on the figure. Articulation is also pretty good. If you own the most recent Mezco Joker figure, I hear that these guys share the same buck as him. However, I do want to point out though that the flight suit does make the figure's articulation a bit restrictive here and there. But you can certainly get some pretty awesome poses out of them, as we're going to show you later on in this video. Oh, another thing I want to point out is the leg hose right here. It's actually more of like a bendable, like bendy wire, so you could actually kind of play around with it a bit and kind of adjust it according to whatever you think looks right. Of course, each individual Ghostbuster does come with their very own military belt here, full of accessories, with the typical trend being an MT500 radio, a key fob, and a belt gizmo. And as I'm going to show you here later on in the video, both Ray and Egon do come with a few extras. These Ghostbuster figures also come with replaceable hands. By default, they're going to come with 2 closed fists, but you can certainly swap those out as they come with grasping hands, so they can actually hold their Proton Packs and their radios and all the other accessories, as well as also a set of open hands. Now, of course, what would a Ghostbuster be without the Proton Pack? And Mezco did one heck of a job at downscaling this little beauty. The level of detail here is phenomenal. We've got wear and tear all throughout it. We got the danger and the caution stickers on it. Of course, the ribbon cable, the wiring. Even taking a look at the wand, it does feature the clippered valve printing. Now taking a look on the other side of the Proton Pack, this little screw area here, this is where you're gonna put the batteries. Because yes, it does light up, and we're going to show you that here in a second. But before we do, I do want to point out though that I'm a bit concerned about the shoulder straps here, as they are made of plastic. I kind of wish they went with fabric instead, because I do fear that putting the Proton Pack on and off quite a bit, especially for this review, I may wind up breaking something eventually, because especially with the Proton Pack frame, it does seem a bit fragile. Speaking of that, I'm going to try my best here. We're going to slap the Proton Pack on old Dr. Venkman. It goes on easy enough. All right, now adjust the waist strap on him here, and oh man, does that ever complete the figure? And being that we have the Proton Pack on Venkman here, let's light him up. Here is the Proton Pack in all of its glory. Of course, we got the blue lighting there. We got the red lights on the cyclotron. It does not cycle. I know, that's a bummer. Another thing to note, though, is that the actual wand itself also features a light right on the very tip of the gun barrel. So there is actually wiring going from the pack itself to the wand. And now let's swap out those hands and give Venkman some accessories to hold. As you can see here, one hand he's got the MT500 radio, and on the other one, a proton wand. Now another cool addition from Mezco is each Ghostbuster does come with a swappable head as well. A more expressive head. In this case, this one kind of shows off more of like a scared look. Kind of reminds me a bit of like when Slimer is coming at Venkman in the Sedgwick Hotel scene from the original Ghostbusters film. Now to swap heads, it's easy enough there, as you can see right here. It's on a ball joint, you just pop it off and then you pop the other one on, and that's all there is to it. And once again, this head, pretty expressive here. He looks frightened, he looks scared. I still, once again, don't think the resemblance to Bill Murray is 100% here. I, once again, would probably give this maybe about a 7 out of 10. It looks good, it does the job, it could be better. I think it may be that hair especially that's kind of bothering me. It could be lighter. In fact, I love the way he looks here with the radio in hand and his mouth wide open. I think this is going to be how I'm going to choose to display him going forward. Being that we now have the Proton Pack on Dr. Peter Venkman, let's do a quick comparison between action figure lines here. On the left-hand side here, we've got the Diamond Select Toys Ghostbusters Select figure. In the middle, of course, we've got the brand new Mezco Ghostbuster figure. And on the right, we've got Mattel's offering. This is to give you guys a bit of a better idea of how each individual stacks up when it comes to sizing. And before anybody makes any snap judgments or be like, this one's better, that one's worse, what have you, just a quick reminder that the Mezco Ghostbusters box set comes in at $300, which makes the Mezco Peter Venkman figure roughly about $75 in value. And of course, we gotta compare the Proton Packs. Let's turn them around to the back. Once again, Diamond Select Toys, Mezco, and Mattel left to right. Now, as a cool little added accessory, Venkman does come bundled with a Bacharach sniffer. Fans will remember that Venkman used this in the original Ghostbusters film when he was investigating Dana Barrett's apartment. The level of detail on this is really nice. You got like the little pump there, you got the actual kind of like sniffer portion. The only thing is both pieces are a little too small for him to actually hold and handle properly, so I don't think I'm gonna have this on display with him. I'm just gonna kind of put that to the side. Still though, really glad they included it. Coming up next, we have got Dr. Ray Stantz, the heart of the Ghostbusters, with the likeness of Dan Aykroyd. And this is another one too, where I think the likeness is good. Once again, probably a 7.5 maybe. But something is just kind of throwing it off a bit for me. But I will say it does get better. That is because Ray's pack-in item is the Ecto Goggles. And once again, I do think the face here, it definitely does it justice. It does Dan Aykroyd justice. But I think when you pair it up with these Ecto Goggles, let's slip them on right now. Like, look at that. You can rest them on top of his head. You can also lower them over his eyes. And I know it's kind of weird to say, oh, you know, he looks so great when you cover a portion of his face up. But he does. He really gives me a very strong Dan Aykroyd vibe here. I really do feel like the goggles bring this figure to another level, especially when you pair the goggles with his alternate head. But before we do that, let's first take a look at that alternate head. Now, much like Venkman, Stantz's expressive face here takes me right back to that Sedgwick Hotel scene from the original Ghostbusters, where when Stantz sees Slimer for the very first time, he has that kind of dumbfounded look on his face. And I do think Mezco did a better job with this one than a standard face, but like I said, you pop those Ecto Goggles onto this one, and it just, once again, brings it to another level. Honestly, when you pair that expressive face up with these goggles, this could be my favorite Ghostbuster figure of all time. I love the look of this. Now, when it comes to a pack-in item, Ray does come with a ghost trap. Originally, when you get it, it comes all coiled up, as you can see right here. But much like the leg hose, you can actually bend and straighten it out if you want to. And being that you can bend the actual wire to the ghost trap, you can create some pretty cool display pieces with it. As you can see here, we've got this shot of Ray holding the ghost trap, much like he would, well, in the movie. Also, turning Ray around to the side, you're going to notice that he does come with a holster. Yes, this is one of those unique items that I mentioned about earlier. Ray comes with a holster on his belt, so you can strap the ghost trap directly into it. And in doing that, I think you complete this figure, and with the trap, with the goggles, with all the accessories, the Proton Pack, once again, probably one of my all-time favorite Ghostbuster action figures. This guy looks amazing. Now coming up next, we've got the brains of the Ghostbusters, Dr. Egon Spengler, of course, the late, great Harold Ramis. And I feel like the likeness on this one, it's getting better. I would probably rate this about an 8 out of 10. I feel like the sculpt is really good here. Just the 1/12 scale, you know, the glasses. It's really hard to make glasses for action figures in this size, and I think that kind of takes a bit away from it. But one thing I love that Mezco did do here is there's actually like plastic in behind the glasses to actually make it look like there's glass there. Really cool, add a bit of detail. And also being that he is a Harold Ramis Egon Spengler action figure, I mean, look at that pomp for the hair. I mean, that thing looks fantastic. They replicated it perfectly here. Another thing to point out is Mezco kind of added a bit of a 5 o'clock shadow around old Spengler's face here. Certainly adding to the level of detail of the action figure. And as you should know by now, of course, Egon does come with a swappable head, so let's pop that on the body right now. Now when it comes to the Ray Stantz and the Peter Venkman alternate heads, I think those are the ones I'm actually going to display with. But when it comes to this Egon, I'm just not feeling this one. It's a little too expressive for a film version of Egon Spengler. If it was like a real Ghostbusters figure, absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind this would certainly work. But when it comes to the Harold Ramis Egon Spengler character, I just feel like maybe like an eyebrow raise or maybe like a slight smirk would have worked a bit better as an alternate head. Still though, I can totally get why Mezco did it. It's just with me, I prefer the standard Egon, you know, straight face look. Now much like the other three guys, Egon does come with his own pack-in accessory. This time, this little itty bitty tiny PKE meter. The level of detail here is great, and best of all, it also features workable side wings. There's no button or anything like that, you just kind of move them up and down via your own hand. And I will say, combining these with the figure and another accessory we're going to talk about here in a few moments, you can get some really cool shots, as you can see right here. Okay, so coming up last, we're going to be talking about who I think is the best looking figure in this entire line, Ernie Hudson as Winston Zeddemore, the everyman of the Ghostbusters. I mean, there is no denying whatsoever that this is Ernie Hudson. I mean, look at that face there. Once again, if I had to rank it, I would say strong 9.5 out of 10, if not a 10. This thing is a small 6-7 inch scale of Ernie Hudson. It's perfect. I love the level of detail. The paint app on this thing looks fantastic, especially the mustache. The hair is perfect. I mean, from every single angle, this screams Ernie Hudson. Now, of course, he does have an expressive, almost scared, yeah, I would say scared head, which also looks really good too. Once again, it looks like Ernie. It's just, when I think of Ernie Hudson in the original Ghostbusters film, I think of somebody who's very, very serious, and this doesn't really come through as that character for me. I would have preferred more of like a stern-looking Winston face. But I will say, when it comes to these more expressive heads, when you pair them up with some of the other figures in the line, you can tell a really good story with them. I mean, like, look at this shot right here. There is no doubt this is shortly thereafter Winston saw something, well, he saw stuff that would turn him white. Alright, so we've already gotten like the Bacharach sniffer, the PK meter, the ghost trap. What could Winston's accessory be? Well, I mean, it's a big accessory. It's not really even an accessory, it's more so a figure in itself. It is Slimer. And the first thing you notice with this figure is that awesome translucent green design. He looks so grotesque. I mean, look at all those fat rolls. I love the paint app and detail on the eyes and in and around the mouth area. Like, this Slimer just, he looks disgusting. Another thing to point out is his arms also move as well. It looks like they are on a ball joint, so you can get some pretty decent range out of them. And longtime viewers of the channel will know that I rate Slimers on one thing, and one thing alone. That's the posterior, that's the buttocks. And this Slimer does not disappoint, guys. I mean, look at that Slimer booty. Look at the little divots, the pimples that run throughout it. And that translucent green, oh, it just amplifies it. I will say this has to be one of the most accurate Slimers we have ever gotten in action figure form. And as you can see, he also does come with a 2-part stand, easy to put together, allowing you to display him right next to your main 4 Ghostbusters. And before I forget, speaking of stands, at the very bottom of the box here, we took this shot, you can see that it does come with 4 Ghostbuster stands, featuring the classic No Ghost logo. Also, flight stands are included, which I don't really know why you need them, but I thank Mezco for including them. And as well, 4 Proton streams. And in my opinion, these Proton streams look great when they are on display, especially when you combine them with the more expressive heads. Now, one thing I do want to point out as we're taking a look at the Proton streams, I did mention the wand lights up earlier, but the light in the wand does not actually light up the stream whatsoever. Still though, a really cool pack-in and a must if you have a deluxe Ghostbuster set like this one. Now, if you are debating on picking up this set, once again, for the heavy price tag of $300, there's also a high chance that you like to display your figures and have them, you know, out in the open where people can see them and where you can admire them, kind of like me. And if that's the case, let me say that the Mezco Ghostbuster set really does shine when you have them all on display all together. When they're allowed to be expressive, when they're allowed to tell a story. To me, that's what takes a set from good to great. Individually, these figures are maybes, but when you combine all 4 together, along with the Slimer, and you can start mixing and matching with other Ghostbuster product lines and create one epic display piece, that makes these figures must-haves. So guys, I hope you enjoyed our look at the Mezco Ghostbuster box set. If you'd like to buy a set for your very own, we've got a link down below in the description. This review today was not endorsed, promoted, sponsored, anything by Mezco whatsoever. This is just one guy, me, going out and plunking a lot of money down to buy figures he really, really wanted. So that's it. That's all. I will see you guys right back here next time on GhostbustersNews.com and, of course, Ghostbusters News right here on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe here to the channel and be sure to check out our Patreon page as well. Once again, link right down below in that description.